It's January 2nd, 2026, and you've already blocked 3 people, deleted 2 numbers, and unfollowed 5 more. Not because you're dramatic or because you woke up cruel. Because you spent all of 2025 tolerating patterns you're not bringing into 2026. And there's actual psychology behind why January triggers this mass relationship purge. Here's what most people don't understand about the new year cutting people off phenomenon. It's not random. It's not you being cold. It's the result of something psychologists call the reflection effect. When December hits, you naturally start reviewing your year. And that review reveals patterns you were too busy to notice while you were living it. The friend who only calls when they need something. The family member who criticizes every choice you make. The person who's been draining you for 12 months straight. You tolerated it in February. You tolerated it in June. You tolerated it in October. But something about seeing it across an entire year makes you realize you're done. And January 1st gives you permission to finally act on it. But here's what nobody talks about. There's a psychological reason why January specifically triggers this purge. Researchers who study behavior change call it the fresh start effect. Temporal landmarks like New Year's create a mental separation between your old self and your new self. It's not just a new calendar. It's psychological permission to become someone who doesn't tolerate what the old you tolerated. You're not the same person who let them disrespect you in 2025. You're the 2026 version who has boundaries. And cutting people off isn't mean. It's the first boundary you're setting. I'll never forget the January I finally did this. There was someone in my life who I'd been making excuses for all year. Every time they disappointed me, I'd tell myself, well, maybe next time. Every time they showed me exactly who they were, I'd convince myself I was being too sensitive. But then, December came, and I was reflecting on my year, and I counted. 12 times. 12 separate times they'd done the same thing, and I realized I wasn't being too sensitive. I was being too tolerant. So on January 1st, I sent one message. I'm done. That's it. No explanation, no closure conversation, just done. And people asked me why I was being so harsh. What? Harsh? I gave them 12 chances. 12. The harsh thing would have been giving them a 13th. Here's what research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows. People have what's called a violation threshold. You can tolerate someone crossing your boundaries a certain number of times. But once that threshold is crossed, the relationship doesn't just get damaged. It gets categorized differently in your brain. They move from trusted person to threat. And when that recategorization happens, trying to go back feels impossible. It's not that you're holding a grudge. It's that your brain has literally reclassified them as unsafe. So when people say you're being dramatic for cutting someone off on New Year's, what they don't understand is you're not reacting to one thing. You're reacting to the accumulated weight of an entire year. Now, here's where I need to be real with you. There's a difference between cutting people off because they've repeatedly violated your boundaries and cutting people off because you refuse to have difficult conversations. If you're someone who ghosts the second anyone challenges you or disappoints you, once, that's not boundary setting. That's conflict avoidance. And you're going to wake up in 2027 alone because you've cut off everyone who ever had a human moment around you. So ask yourself, are you cutting them off because they showed you a pattern or because they showed you discomfort? Because one is protection and the other is isolation. But if you're cutting people off because you've communicated boundaries they ignored, because they've shown you the same disrespectful pattern for months or years, because keeping them in your life costs more than letting them go, that's not you being cold. That's you finally choosing yourself. And here's your permission if you need it. You don't owe anyone a 2026 invitation just because they were in your 2025. You don't owe people access to the new version of you when they disrespected the old version. You're allowed to reflect on a year and decide some people don't get to come with you into the next one. If you're someone who's cutting people off this January, or if you've ever been cut off and you're trying to understand why, hit subscribe. Because this whole channel is psychology for people who refuse to keep tolerating what drains them. We break down the patterns most people ignore and give you permission to protect your energy without apologizing for it. Here's what nobody tells you about starting 2026 lighter. It feels lonely at first. You're going to question if you made the right choice. You're going to wonder if you're the problem. But give it a month. Give it 2. And watch how much energy you get back when you're not constantly managing someone else's inability to respect you. Watch how much lighter you feel when you're not bracing for the next disappointment. That space you created by removing them, that's not emptiness. That's room for people who actually deserve to be there. Here at Cyclipsis, we don't just talk about psychology. We make it make sense. If this video gave you permission to start the year without people who drained you last year next week, we're breaking down why some people can never be happy for you when good things happen and what that reveals about them. Your 2026, the one where you finally stop tolerating patterns that don't serve you, is already thanking you for watching this. Not everyone gets to come with you. And realizing that isn't cruel. It's growth. You've got this.